There is one quality that separates the human being from all other species on the planet. And when you understand that you have within you this secret skill, this magical capability, it has the potential to transform your life in ways that you cannot possibly comprehend today. More money, more health, more authority, more influence than you could ever possibly imagine. And just as fish were born to swim and birds were born to fly, human beings were born to create something from nothing, to translate what was once just a thought or an idea into a fully manifested material reality, to turn nothing into something. Whether it's millions of dollars in your bank account, a thriving business, a private jet, a soulmate, a healed body, you have the ability, using the power of your mind, to reshape and sculpt your reality with absolutely no limit to what you can or cannot create. And in this episode, I'm going to share with you a process by which you can turn your thoughts into things. Only a handful of people truly understand how this works. And after this episode, you are going to be one of them. And so I'm going to share with you an equation, and it is foundational to understanding how to create your reality. And the equation is this: desire plus non-resistance equals desired result. Well, what does this mean? Well, what it means is that if you want to create any desired result in your life, any type of change, if you want a problem to go away or you want to create something that you want, the key to it is to have the desire and then to be in non-resistance. 100% of the time, consistently, predictably, if you're able to achieve that, you will produce the desired result. Now, this is very good news, because what it means is that the equation for creating success in the world is not desire plus hustle and grind equals desired result, or desire plus control your circumstances and situation and ensure that everything goes your way in order to produce a desired result. Those first two actually sound like a formula for burnout. It is not desire plus have enough time or have enough money or be born in a first world country equals desired result. That's good news, because what that means is that there's no limitation that can prevent you from achieving your desires. It is not desire plus be part of the lucky birth club, or desire plus have enough social media followers, or desire plus be the smartest person in the world equals desired result. That is not what this law says. What this law says is that if you have a desire, no matter what it is, a healed body, more money, more clarity, spiritual connection, a grown business, a family, a frictionless life, whatever your desire is, and you add to that non-resistance, meaning you are not in resistance to the desire that you have, 100% of the time, consistently and predictably, you will produce the desired result. Now, I'm going to unpack this more deeply with you in this episode. We're going to talk about, well, what is this non-resistance? What is the resistance? And how do we transform it? So right off the bat, when we talk about desire plus non-resistance equals desired result, and the goal is to have a desire and then be non-resistant, let's acknowledge that the first part you've already got down pretty good. You've got a whole portfolio of things that you want that you've accumulated over the course of your life as a result of experiencing things you don't want. You've got a whole backlog of desires. Every time you experience financial insecurity, you've got a desire for more money, don't you? Every time you experience someone being mean to you or saying things to you that they shouldn't and feeling like you're not good enough, you've got a desire for self-confidence and self-esteem, don't you? Every time you have friction in your relationship, you have a desire for more peace and passion and compassion, don't you? Every time you see these tragedies and travesties in the world, you have a desire for a different world, a world where perhaps there is no war, there is no manipulation, there is no conflict, there is no division. So you've been going through your entire life building a massive catalog of desires. And those desires have not gone anywhere. In fact, those desires have been sitting there waiting for you to be non-resistant to them in order to materialize themselves into your reality, no matter what they are. Now, some people confuse this conversation for that movie, The Secret. It was like a documentary on law of attraction, and then the book came out years later, where they think that they can just have desires, and then all of a sudden, the Amazon delivery guy is going to deliver $1 million to their front door, or their soulmate, or that their health is going to magically be transformed within 24 hours. That's not what I'm suggesting. There will be action that you must take. Thought alone will not produce the result that you want. And so we will look back on your achievement of some desired result, and we will see what you would have done to produce the result. I had a desire years ago, my wife and I, when we did our first event, to have 300 people at our first Powerful Living Experience Live. That was the desire. The game we played was not necessarily to figure out how, but to be non-resistant, to identify the limiting beliefs and the fears and the doubts that we had, and to use the tools that we had developed to eliminate those doubts and fears. Then the byproduct of that was having the right thoughts and having the right emotions and taking the right action to produce not 300, but 330 people at our first live event. And so you'd look at that and say, yeah, but Dave, you took action. And I'm saying, yes, action is a very important part of turning something or turning nothing into something, taking an idea and making it alive. And behavioral psychology tells us this. Behavioral psychology really maps the invisible to the visible when it says, hey, what you believe, these core programs that you developed at a very young age, you think on a moment-by-moment basis. And whatever you think in the moment, you feel. The vibration of the neural networks that have become active in your brain that represent the thought then have a ripple effect throughout your nervous system, and you experience that thought as an emotion. And emotions determine what action you take. If you're feeling anxious and overwhelmed, it might look like you're in some form of inaction, right? Huddled on the sofa or going for an extra cup of coffee or distracting yourself. But if you're feeling joy and curiosity and inspiration, you'll be taking productive action towards your desired outcome. As you take actions over time produce results, and those results will be 100% in alignment with the beliefs that started them. So if you believe you're not good enough, those are the results you produce in your life. If you believe you live in a friendly, loving, and prosperous universe, those are the results, and that will be your experience. If you believe that your soulmate is out there, you will find them. If you believe there's no good ones left, you will be left alone for the rest of your life, or be in a relationship with somebody who you'd prefer not to be in a relationship with. So it's important to understand that action is a part of it, but action is a byproduct of emotion. Emotion is a byproduct of thought, and thoughts are byproduct of beliefs. So when we go back to this equation of desire plus non-resistance equals desired result, what we're saying is have a desire, know what you want, which you already do in so many ways. You know what you want, don't you? Think about one thing that you want right now in your life. And if you can't think about one thing that you want, think about that one thing you really don't want to have anymore. And whatever the opposite of that is what you want, right? I really don't want to be in physical pain. God, you want to be comfortable in your body. I really don't want to be worried that I don't have enough money to pay my rent at the end of the month. Got it. Then what you want is financial abundance and prosperity. I really don't want this job that I have. Okay, got it. Then you want a new career. You want to start your own business. But you know what you want, desire. Plus non-resistance, meaning not having any belief systems or any stories that are counterproductive or oppositional to the desire, equals desired result. 100% of the time, you are a human being. Again, just as birds were made to fly and fish were made to swim, you were meant to create, to materialize into the world, to bring into physics or into reality that which was once just an idea. That is the unique quality of a human being. And so you might say, yeah, but Dave, there are constraints, aren't there, to this? I mean, this can't simply apply to everything. What if I want to make more money, but I don't have my own business? I get this question a lot, especially on my money episodes on this channel. What if I want to make more money, but I don't have my own business? Well, who said you have to have your own business to make more money? What's the desire? To have more financial prosperity and abundance. Got it. So what's the resistance? Well, the resistance is believing that you have to have your own business in order to have more financial prosperity and abundance. No wonder you're stuck. Because the equation is desire plus non-resistance. So all you need to do is have the desire and inventory your inner dialogue and see where you're throwing up roadblocks where perhaps none need to be thrown up. Now you could further debate with me, yeah, but Dave, don't I need to know the how, right? Don't I need to know how I'm going to make more money? And on other episodes, I've talked about how no, the how is what keeps most people stuck. You don't need to know the how. How you make more money without having your own business is not your decision to make. That is information that exists in the field. It is part of what you could refer to as God's will. Let God figure out the how and let God give you the how. But you get insights and optics into how you might be able to achieve any type of outcome, no matter how big or how impossible it may seem, by doing two things. Number one, making sure that you have the desire or decide. You have to decide that you want to make more money, regardless of your current career or business situation, and then be non-resistant. And when you can exist in that space, there will be hunches, synchronicities, coincidences that show up, thoughts that you have. You could get a promotion in your career, make an extra $30,000, $40,000 a year, and then find an investment opportunity through a series of circumstances and synchronicities that allow you to put that money to work to make an extra $1 million or $2 million through investments. There's an infinite number of ways that you can become financially prosperous and abundant. But if you cut yourself off from all of those possibilities by believing, number one, that you need to know the how, and believing, number two, that you have to have a business in order to achieve financial prosperity and abundance, well, now you're in the equation desire plus resistance equals not the result that I want. And oh, by the way, I see so many people commenting, but I don't have a business. Well, why don't you become available to a business? How about you just decide that you're going to let the universe or God or Jesus or Allah figure out the how for you through the thoughts that you are given and the things that show up in your life, and be open to maybe starting your own business rather than sitting over here. But it's never going to work out for me. Dave, I love your other videos. You tell business owners how to become financially prosperous and abundant, but I don't have a business. So desire plus oh, poor me equals still broke. I'm telling you, this equation works 100% of the time, but it's so subtle because so many of the things that we think we believe are fact. I have to have a business in order to become financially prosperous and abundant. Not true. I've told a story in another episode that while I had a business, I actually made a decision after reading Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill that I was going to generate $60,000 in additional income from a source that could have nothing to do connected with my business. Why? Well, because I realized I had limited how much I thought I could actually make based on my business. And I was like, well, my God is a God of possibility. Is my God restricted to generating income and wealth for me from my business? And so I played this game, and through a series of synchronicities, I met a guy at a lunch who really enjoyed me sharing my recovery and 12-step. He stopped drinking for a couple of months, invited me to go have lunch with him. I drove the 2 hours to Tampa. Some guys were pitching him on an investment opportunity in an area where I had expertise. And the guy invited me in as a partner in this investment. And at the end of the year, we cashed out of the investment. I got $60,000 back. Exactly the amount of money that I decided I was going to make from a source of income that had nothing to do with my primary business. So we can make miracles on demand if we get out of our own way. You say, but what if I want to improve my relationship and my partner won't work on it? Well, let's go back to the equation. What is it? Desire plus non-resistance equals desired result. So what's your desire? Well, your desire is that you want to have an amazing relationship with your partner. But you're in resistance. You're not in non-resistance. What's the resistance? Well, my partner won't work on it. And my partner won't work on it, then how can it be possible? Well, here again, why don't you turn it over to a God of possibility? What if you operated with the desire of having an amazing relationship with your partner, and then you could operate in non-resistance? Non-resistance when they triggered you, non-resistance when there was friction, non-resistance when things weren't going the way that you expected it to, and instead you held a loving presence with a knowingness that the process of your relationship turning into the relationship of your dreams was unfolding, and anytime it seemed like it wasn't, that was just a blip in the system, and you had to just kind of hold your loyalty through it and stay faithful 100% of the time. If your desire is to be in an amazing relationship with your partner, and you can maintain that non-resistance, you'll get the desired result. Your partner will start to see how they are behaving when you're no longer triggered in the space with them, when you're no longer angry or frustrated that things are not going to change, when you're no longer getting upset based on your own unprocessed and unmetabolized trauma when they do things. And if you can actually remove your triggers from your relationship, now your partner has the opportunity to see their trigger instead of yours. This is what we call loving presence. But again, it goes back to the same idea. Desire plus non-resistance equals desired result. If you have a desire to improve your relationship, I don't care how long it's been going on, in a way that you do not prefer, or who the person is. No, Dave, you don't understand. You don't understand my husband. You don't understand my wife. No, you don't understand the laws. You don't understand the mathematics. Desire plus non-resistance equals desired result. Now, that doesn't mean that, as you get all excited with your new desire and committing to non-resistance and taking a look at your limiting beliefs, that shit's not going to show up in ways that you didn't expect it to. And that's where you'll get triggered again. You'll move back into resistance. And our work is to become aware of it and then try to do the practice better next time, right? But Dave, what if I want to do all these things? Hobby, take care of myself, kids, date night, but there's not enough time. Like, you don't understand my life. I have a desire, but I can't do all these things. I would say, look, let's go back to the equation. Desire plus non-resistance equals desired result. What's your desire? Well, to have time to do the important things in my life. Okay, well, what's the resistance? I don't have enough time. Look at my life. Now, here, you may be misunderstanding that the way you're running your life right now has a base efficiency, but that efficiency can be changed. The kids can behave differently. Things that took a certain amount of time can take a different amount of time. Your whole life can reconfigure and will reconfigure around a decision that you want to have more in your life and do more in your life and have a more balanced life. And efficiency will set in if you allow it to, but it can't as long as you're resistant. That's why desire plus non-resistance equals desired result. It's amazing, since I've had my son, my 2-year-old child, and I made a decision that he was going to come first, not my business, how much my business has exploded, how much more my team is coordinating and doing things efficiently, how partners are showing up, how opportunities are showing up. Because I didn't sacrifice my desire for a multi-million-dollar transformational company for my son. I wanted to have them both. And so I made the decision, and I looked at my limiting beliefs and my resistance around it, and I did the work. I used the tools that we talk about on so many other episodes on this channel to start to clear out my misperceptions so that I could allow possibility to exist in my life. Again, desire plus non-resistance equals desired result. Oftentimes we get stuck in the how, right? But how am I going to do this? How am I going to find the time? How am I going to make the money? How am I going to improve my relationship? And it's very important that you set aside the how for right now. Because the how is not a thing that you figure out. You cannot see the how from a place of trying to see the how, from a place of doubt or desperation. You actually find the how from the decision that something will be. You decide within the context of understanding that what you decide becomes your reality, especially when you're playing the game of non-resistance. And as you do that, as you decide that I don't need to know how, but I'm going to be rich, I'm going to be healthy, I'm going to be connected, I'm going to be clear, right? I'm going to be happy. Then that starts to call forth new thoughts and new ideas from the field. You start to have access to new thoughts and ideas. You start to see life differently. You start to find opportunities where before you found limitation. And because you're vibrating at the frequency of a person who is achieving this desired result rather than someone who's resistant to it, you start to create coincidences and synchronicities and attract all kinds of people, circumstances, and situations that help you materialize what you'll look back on and say, this was the how. This was the game plan, Dave. This is how I actually accomplished this. But the irony is you can't figure it out from looking forward. You can only see it looking backwards. And so you have to know that the how is a byproduct of the decision and the willingness to take steps forward, right? To take steps by faith. The how is the byproduct of desire and non-resistance. And so what decision do you take? Well, inspired action. You're going to have thoughts, you're going to have ideas, things that you could do in order to produce more income, things that you could do in order to deepen your spirituality. Some of them will be conscious, some of them will be unconscious. You'll just happen to be flipping through YouTube and you'll find a video like this one, right? Or someone will say to you, you should think about doing this thing. Or you'll show up at a place where you'll meet someone who's exactly the person you needed to meet. And you do that as a result of holding the desire, right? Which is also deciding, and being non-resistant, which entails not needing to know the how. And this is actually the process of you becoming the person who will achieve the outcome, who will have the how unfold inside of them. Because as you become the person, you tune into the how and you tune into the plan. Hey, it's David. Just a quick interruption to your regularly scheduled episode by your favorite sponsor, moi. I want to tell you about my book. It is available on Amazon right here, right now. A Changed Mind, Go Beyond Self-Awareness, Rewire Your Brain, and Re-Engineer Your Reality. In this little book are all the frameworks, the tools, the methodologies that I talk about on this show and that I've used to actually change my mind and that tens of thousands of other people have used to transform their bank accounts, their businesses, their relationships, their health, their spiritual connection, everything that you want to achieve. This is the way to achieve it. And Amazon has done us a good one right now. It's significantly discounted. So you can go and pick up your copy, or better yet, pick up a copy for a friend too. There's nothing better than giving the gift of transformation right now. Hop on over to Amazon. There's a link in the show notes. And if you love the book as much as I loved writing it for you, do me a favor, let me know that and leave a review. And now back to your regularly scheduled episode. John D. Rockefeller, one of the greatest industrialists of our time, in the face of elimination, because Thomas Edison had invented the light bulb, Rockefeller believed he was ordained by God to bring light to the world, and he had decided he was going to become the most powerful, wealthiest man in the world. And then here, all of a sudden, all of this industry that he had built up, becoming the kerosene baron of the world, literally bringing light to the world, was at risk because a guy by the name of Edison built a light bulb. Well, that didn't deter Rockefeller. Rockefeller was operating with desire plus non-resistance equals desired result. His desire was to become one of the most powerful, richest people in the world. And just because Edison was designing the light bulb, that wasn't going to throw off the equation. The mathematics is the mathematics. And so Rockefeller stayed non-resistant as he navigated through this unexpected conflict or contraction in what he was creating. And it turned out there was another guy who came along by the name of Henry Ford. And Henry Ford had invented this vehicle called the Model T, and the Model T required this thing called gasoline. And gasoline was, lo and behold, the byproduct that was thrown off and discarded of all of the kerosene that Rockefeller was previously selling to light lights or lanterns all around the world. Edison shows up and eliminates kerosene. Henry Ford shows up, and now all of a sudden, John D. Rockefeller became the greatest energy and oil baron in the history of the world. So it's important that we navigate through these contractions while not dismissing the equation. See what resistance is coming up for you in the moment and use whatever tools you have to disarm yourself of the resistance. Because 100% of the time, if you have a desire, if you could be non-resistant through the power of thoughts and ideas and emotions and action and coincidence and synchronicities, 100% of the time, the result will be produced. In my own life, I had to I had given up on finding a soulmate. So I was single for about 10 years, going out on dates with, one date here, 2 dates there, nobody I was ever interested in. And I gave up. And then as I started getting into this work, I was like, wait a minute, like my God, the God of my own understanding can find me a soulmate. And so I made a decision one day. I made a decision that I was going to meet a beautiful Colombian woman and make her my wife. And you may have heard this story in other episodes, but through a series of extraordinary synchronicities, including tearing my shoulder, finding a doctor 2 hours from where I lived, being down there the weekend of his birthday, deciding to take him out for dinner, ending it up in some strip mall with a bunch of restaurants, and walking into a restaurant where my future wife was unexpectedly waiting. I met Carol Gutierrez Bayer, a beautiful Colombian woman who I made my wife 10 days later as a result of deciding, desiring, and being in non-resistance. Now, I can look back and explain to you how it all happened, but it's important to understand again that the how is the byproduct of the decision. If you think about it in your mind's eye, the how actually comes after. So we have a desire, we decide, we become non-resistant, and then we become a part of the expression of the how in the world. We actually kind of co-create the how, with life itself. So the how is a naturally occurring byproduct of desire and non-resistance. Now, what is the resistance? Well, the resistance are belief systems that were formed at a very early age. And it's not just beliefs about ourselves, like I'm not good enough or I don't matter. It's beliefs about reality, like there's not enough time, or money is hard to make, or you have to work hard to make money. So we have all kinds of beliefs that were formed out of our observations of other people or what other people who had no idea how this game functioned taught us, and those beliefs started to shape the lens through which we think, through which we feel, through which we perceive the world, and we literally move into an altered state or one dimension of many multidimensional experiences that is configured by your belief systems. And so then you say, well, geez, how do I find resistant beliefs? And my answer is notice when you're thinking something that doesn't feel good. We teach a concept called the 2 states of being, which basically says, you're always in one of 2 states of being. You're in a powerful state or a primal state. Powerful states are states of being that feel good, like joy, curiosity, excitement, passion. Those states are states when the parasympathetic nervous system is active, rest, relaxation, and recharge. And then there are states of being that we call primal states, states like stress, anxiety, overwhelm, anger, jealousy, boredom. Those are states of the sympathetic nervous system when you're in fight or flight. And so what we found is anytime you're having resistant thoughts or you're in some form of a resistant belief, it's triggering you to move into a primal state. It never feels good. And just think about it for a second, thinking that your partner's never going to change, or you're always going to be broke, or you're always going to be sick, or things don't work out for you, but they work out for other people, or you're never going to find something you're passionate about and create financial prosperity and abundance, or that you don't matter, that you're not good enough. Any of those things feel good? No. And they all move us into a primal state. And so the name of the game is to start to inventory what it is that you're thinking when you don't feel good, and to know that those thoughts are limiting beliefs. That's how you start to identify the resistance and learn to drop the resistance. And then you can get into a practice of not doing the resistance. And this is what's so cool about it, because you change your belief systems by simply not doing the resistance. You know, when you're able to realize that you're thinking that it's never going to work out for you, and you're able to see that that's actually not true, and you stop thinking that thought, there's a process called neural pruning that starts to take place. And so as you begin to prune these neurons, you literally start to erase the old memories and the limiting belief systems, and you start to build a new neurology or a new nervous system of the person that you're becoming. This idea is represented in neuroplasticity in neuroscience. You can actually reshape and rewire your brain and your nervous system, which reshapes and rehabits your thoughts and your emotions. And so this is a really cool idea, right? You are able to transform by simply not doing the habit of resistance that you've been doing. And we've got some great tools on other episodes. I've got a whole episode on the decision matrix, which is also in my book. It's a 3-step process we have for identifying limiting beliefs and for making new decisions and for pruning out those old parts of your nervous system so that you can change the habit. I've got an activity called the circles activity, which is really just coming up with a list of behaviors that you engage in and thoughts and emotions that don't feel good, so that you're aware of it when you kind of get into your worry or you get into your overwhelm or you get into your stress or your anger, and then come up with an alternate list of like activities that really feel good, connecting activities, spiritual activities. And so in the middle circle, you put, the limiting beliefs and the habits and patterns that don't serve you well, that represent the resistance. And in the outer circle, you put all of these activities that enrich and uplift and connect you. And then there's a middle circle between the two, and that's sort of where you have choice. Those are the behaviors when you're starting to move towards the slippery slope of your inner circle. And you can practice this. And once you have an awareness of, what makes you feel good and moves you into an outer circle, and what makes you feel bad and is resistance and moves you into an inner circle, you've got a much greater chance of playing the game effectively. But ultimately, what we're talking about here is the ability to start questioning your thoughts. I believe the fastest way to create transformation is to see your limiting belief as a limiting belief. In other words, it's to see what I would call your unintelligent thinking or resistance as unintelligent thinking, meaning not true. I had a client once who I was coaching live at one of my events, and she and her husband were having some challenges. And she just kept saying over and over and over to this poor guy's face, I married the wrong man. I married the wrong man. This relationship isn't going to work out. I'm unhappy. He never does things around the house. I married the wrong man. And so when I thought about that idea of I married the wrong man, I asked her, I said, hey, when you have this thought, I married the wrong man, does that move you into a powerful or a primal state? And she said, well, it moves me into a primal state. It doesn't feel good. And I said, well, then what do we know about thoughts that move you into a primal state? And she paused for a moment. She said, that it's not true? And I said, okay, well, if that's not true, then what must be true? And she thought for a moment, and she said, that I married the perfect man? I said, got it. So what evidence do you have for the fact that you married the perfect man? And she thought for a moment, and she started listing out all these reasons why this guy was so perfect for her. And as she went from one to the next, to the next, to the next, all of a sudden she started breaking down and crying. And she said, I realized that he proposed to me unexpectedly, and I didn't expect him to ask me to marry him. And I said yes, But I gave that meaning a moment, which was I should have said no and I married the wrong man. And none of that was ever true. And I've been living through this false reality that there's something wrong with him when in fact he's the most amazing guy. And it was such a wonderful reunification of their relationship as she broke down and sobbed and begged for forgiveness, because this poor guy had been living in her altered state for so many years based off of just one unconscious decision that she made, a resistant decision about an experience that she had that she wasn't present to. So our whole lives can change with a new decision. What's also important to understand is that when you make these new decisions, you're still living in your old reality that you created from your previous thinking and your previous resistance. I'll repeat that again. When you make these new decisions to change your life, you're still living in a life that you created by a previous pattern of thinking that was resistant-based. So you're sort of living in two realities at once. And this is important to understand because your current reality may not change immediately. This is why all the law of attraction people get so frustrated. They're like, but wait a minute, I decided for the new thing, more financial abundance, and how come 3 weeks later a bill came in the mail that I didn't expect? And it's making me feel more financially insecure. And the answer is, well, because that bill showing up is part of your past. Fortunately, we are not instant manifestors. If we did, any negative thought you had would instantly manifest and there would be chaos everywhere. So thinking requires a habit. Right? It's a vibrational habit. And the longer we hold the vibration, the more we signal to God or the universe or the system that we would like it to organize the cooperative components, including the thoughts and ideas and coincidences and synchronicities that make this a reality for us. And so in the meantime, we're kind of navigating through an old reality. It reminds me of the story of Orpheus and Eurydice. Orpheus was a hero in Greek mythology, and Eurydice was apparently his very attractive wife or girlfriend, and Hades, who ruled the underworld, fell in love with Eurydice and took her down into Hades. And so Orpheus, being the champion he was, went down to get Eurydice. But Hades was really, really powerful. And Hades said, look, I'll make you a deal. You can take Eurydice back up to the upper world, but she has to follow you from behind. And you cannot turn around and look at her. If you do, she's going to stay with me forever. Orpheus was like, piece of cake. I can lead Eurydice back up to the upper world and not turn around and look. So as he's leading Eurydice back to the upper world, he hears all kinds of terrible noises, monsters, gnashing, fire, skins and bones being ripped apart, Eurydice screaming. And he thinks this is a trick of Hades, but he's not sure. So he literally gets within meters of getting back to the upper world, and he can't take it any longer. He turns around, and there's his beautiful Eurydice, gently following him back up to the upper world, with no threats around her. It was all an illusion, but Orpheus turned around and Eurydice disappeared and spent the rest of eternity with Hades. And so your life in many ways is an Orphean illusion. So you have to know that what's going on around you, the gnashing, the financial insecurity, the physical pains, the relationship friction, it's all just an illusion that can work its way out. In other words, it's in the process of working its way out if you can maintain your desire and your non-resistance. But if you get entangled with it, you can be trapped in Hades forever, right? For many people, that's what life is. It feels like hell, but it only feels like hell because of the illusion and not having a way back out into heaven. And what I'm saying is the heavenly equation is desire plus non-resistance equals desired result. This is very much like an Abraham Hicks 5-step process that I love. Abraham Hicks, a woman, Esther, who channels Abraham, has this process that many people have told me that I explain better than Abraham does, but I'll break it down for you as closure to this episode. What Abraham basically says is step one is desire, and you're already doing it. And what Abraham says is you're doing it in response to the things that you don't like in your life. And we talked about that earlier on in this episode. You're experiencing financial insecurity, you want financial abundance. You're experiencing relationship friction, you want relationship harmony. You're experiencing disease in your body, you want well-being. We only know what we want because we brush up against these experiences that we don't like. But that's the way that we're able to sift and sort through all the information, because we're in a co-created reality where lots of people have lots of different preferences, and we're bumping up against all those different preferences. And it doesn't mean that you have to hang out with something that you don't like. In fact, it's really a gift or a blessing because it's helping you get clear on what you really do want. And so step one in this 5-step process, as spoken by Abraham, is you experience contrast or things that you don't like. but your nervous system sends off a rocket or a flare of desire every time it happens. Step 2 is the universe or the quantum field or God receives that electrical communication, that flare of desire that you unconsciously send off as a result of running into things that you don't like, and it receives it and immediately starts to organize all the cooperative components to make it a reality. And it does it beyond the space-time continuum. It's very difficult to understand. That's why we call it infinite intelligence. But it's essentially organizing all the thoughts, all the ideas that you will have access to, and those thoughts and ideas start to make their way to you. Thoughts and ideas that are sent to other people to unconsciously influence them to do things and say things and be in different places and circumstances and situations to create synchronicities and coincidences. And 99.9999999% of what's required to actually materialize the result that you desire is done outside of your own action. It's done on your behalf by the system. And so, for example, I wanted to have a podcast with 1 million listeners a month. I have that now. You could look at it and say that I recorded an episode every week, but the universe would go, yes, but we gave Steve Jobs the idea for the Apple iPhone, for iTunes. We inspired the Google founders to create YouTube. We're the ones who are driving the algorithm. We're giving people the inclination and ideas that they should jump on YouTube and search for something, and we're bringing them to you. The universe would say, Dave, congratulations on recording an episode every week, but when you look at the whole of it, you've done very little. We've created the entire system and structure that supports the materialization of your desired result, which is to help more people and make more money and authentically share your message while doing it. It's like, wow, that's true. Like most of the stuff that's required in order to produce the results in our life have nothing to do with us. If I look at the miracle of my son's childbirth, something that's more sacred to me than anything else, how much did I really have to do with it? The miracle of life took over. If I look at how I met my wife, how much did I really have to do with it? Sure, I was a part of the story, but the story was just so much greater than I was. And it's important to see that the story is a loving story and it's working always for your greatest growth, your greatest prosperity, and your greatest evolution. Sometimes materializing challenges in your life that as you work through them, you become the person you need to be in order to produce the desired result. Or you meet people along the way of the challenge that you needed in order to produce the desired result. And so step 1 is you have the desire and you just do that automatically. You don't even need to do anything. You're already doing it. And step 2 is the universe is starting to organize all the cooperative components. Again, you haven't even really done anything. And step 3, Abraham says, is your only real role, and that is don't get in the way. This is the non-resistance part. Don't be resistant. Don't focus on the absence of the thing that you want, saying, why isn't it here yet? How come it is here for other people? What if it never shows up for me? What if I'm stuck with the absence of this thing or with this problem that I don't want for the rest of my life? They call it beating the drum. Stop beating the drum of resistance. So what do I do instead, Dave? Well, go enjoy yourself. Go enjoy your life. Go get into a powerful state. That's where you're going to have access to the thoughts and the ideas that life is trying to flow your way from step 2. That's where you're going to be present to the miracles and the coincidences and the synchronicities that show up, which is again as a function of step 2. But your job in step 3 is to be in vibrational alignment to what you want, and that is to operate from a powerful state. And so sometimes that means using tools to work with our limiting beliefs so we can pull the weeds or heal the traumas. But a lot of times it's like, stop trying to pressure the problem, leave it alone, and go take the dog for a walk, go for a bubble bath, go hang out with some friends. I've used this metaphor before in another episode. It's like ordering a pastrami sandwich at the diner. The universe is going to bring you the pastrami sandwich 100% of the time, but could you imagine sitting at a diner ordering the pastrami sandwich and before the server even leaves the table saying, excuse me, is my pastrami sandwich coming? They'd look at you like you're crazy. They'd say, yes, sir, but I have to go back to the kitchen and place the order with a short order cook. They take 3 or 4 steps away and you go, excuse me, are you sure that the pastrami sandwich is coming? How come those other people have the pastrami sandwich, but I don't have my pastrami sandwich yet? So, sir, I haven't even been able to go back to the kitchen yet. Right? This is a great example of resistance. You order the sandwich, you know it's coming back. But we don't operate that way in life. You have the desire, know that it will materialize, both through action that you take and actions that others take, but it will be inspired action. It won't be hustle and grind action. Where challenges show up, yeah, absolutely challenges will show up. It's part of the process. Let the challenges pass, just like the Orphean illusion. And if you do this, then you get to step 4. Step 4 is you actually get really, really good at doing this. It's all step 4 is. It's not even a new step. Step 4 is you're building a new neurology, a new nervous system that's down-regulated. You're not as reactive. You're aligning yourselves with these fundamental principles of how the universe works. You're learning how to hold more space for the materialization of what you want. And then step 5 is you're going to forget. And you're going to end up in step 1 in the contrast with something you don't like again. But you don't beat yourself up for it because you realize that the problems aren't problems. They're just helping to fine-tune and calibrate the desires that you have. So when you really need to hire a team member and you hire someone and they don't work out, you don't beat yourself up again because you realize, wow, I don't like this experience of having hired someone and then having to fire them. But this has really helped me get clear on what I really want with my next hire. It's helping me fine-tune my desire. It's a calibration process. The universe is never trying to take away from you. The universe is never showing you that it's never going to happen. The universe is not making it impossible. The universe is also going through an iterative process with you as you're getting clearer on what it is that you really want. Because sometimes we want more money, but then we be careful what you ask for. In the next iteration, you might go, I want more money, but doing something I'm passionate about. In the next iteration, you might say, I want more money doing something that I'm passionate about that gives me a lifestyle that is holistic. So it's an iterative process. And we go through these 5 steps. Desire, the universe organize the cooperative components, you relax and align yourself with the desire, you get really, really good at it, and then you forget and you end up in a problem again. But problems catalyze new desires. And again, if I were going to simplify it even more, I'd go back to the master equation I'm teaching you. Desire plus non-resistance equals desired result. And while I've talked about this on other shows, I see a lot of questions about it. And so, again, this is wax on, wax off kind of shit. I can teach you more stuff around, quantum field and identity shifting. And I have other episodes on that. But this is really, really fundamental. If you can get this, then you start playing the game of life properly. And I want you playing the game of life properly because I know that life or the Lord or the universe has so much in store for you. And I know that you've got so much desire in you that's ready to just burst into materialization. And the way to do that is not to hustle or grind or figure out how or get so depressed that you give up. It's to understand how to play the game properly. Desire plus non-resistance equals desired result. And again, if you want to go deeper on how to actually identify some of the resistance and some of the tools we teach to transform the resistance, we've got a ton of other episodes on it. You can jump on over to davidbear.com. We've got some great courses, free stuff, paid stuff, our live event coming up, the Powerful Living Experience Live. Lots of ways for you to go deeper with us, and I hope you do because I love being on this journey with you. If it weren't for you and your desire, I wouldn't be staying in this work the way that I am, and this work is changing my life, and it's changing the lives of so many other people, so I want to thank you. I love you very much. Have an amazing rest of your day, and I will see you in the next episode. Hey, it's David. Hop on over to davidbear.com. Click right here. There's also a link in the show notes, and sign up for our newsletter. You'll get immediate access to my free Mind Hack ebook, as well as a couple of trainings to help you master the inner game. This is a great way to stay informed and be a part of our community and be notified of special announcements. Click below, head on over to the website, get subscribed. If you loved this video, make sure you check out this one or this one, and I will see you in the next video.